character journey for her and for all the other characters, and I absolutely wanted to dive.
In Hollywood, the harshest betrayals never happen under the glaring lights of press tours or during casting wars. They happen quietly, in first-class cabins, miles above the Atlantic, where the only witnesses are the hum of engines and the occasional eavesdropper. There's no scandal, no headline, no shaky phone footage, but somehow, the industry still finds out. In April 2025, somewhere over the Atlantic, Sydney Sweeney had just wrapped filming Glass Chapel with Ryan Reynolds, a genre-bending, moody romance thriller. Ryan played a grieving widower, Sydney a mysterious woman haunting his memories. The movie was Netflix's big gamble. Black and white, no soundtrack, all silence and whispers, the kind of project that screamed Oscar bait. Marketing ran smoothly, until it didn't. 2 hours into the return flight from Paris, after panels, standing ovations, and cocktails, Sydney overheard something she wasn't supposed to. She wasn't eavesdropping, but the air on private studio flights is thin, tense, and intimate. You hear things you wish you didn't. 2 rows up, Ryan spoke low, not to her but to his producer, and what he said cracked the illusion wide open. "She's not a wife. She's a walking contract." The producer chuckled. "I mean, you married the brand." Ryan leaned back. "You don't know what it's like. The image, the control, the fake perfect. You spend her life making people believe they're in love with a version of you she approved. And then she's Blake Lively. Of course she wins. That's the rule." Sydney froze. She didn't move or breathe. This wasn't a joke or casual banter. It was a man trapped in a PR marriage, venting to someone he thought wouldn't overhear. Dangerous, silent, and precise. The seat beside her was empty. No one noticed her reaction. No one knew she heard. But someone did, because when she stepped off that flight in New York, her team immediately sensed a shift. Calls stopped coming. She said nothing. No word to her manager, the studio, or her publicist. In Hollywood, the shifts aren't loud or official. They're subtle, felt in the thinning of press invites, the sudden pauses on follow-up shoots, the quiet disappearance of projects. The Apple TV Plus series her agent had just locked? Gone. No reschedule. No explanation. At first, Sydney thought it was scheduling until she received a call, not from her manager, but a trusted director she'd worked with 2 years prior. "Hey, I just want you to hear this from me," he said. During a shortlisting session for a limited series, her name came up, and the room went silent. Someone from casting muttered, "There's a situation, a conflict flag." Sydney asked what that meant. He hesitated. "It's unofficial, but personal. You're flagged for tension, high discretion risk, something about private conduct." That's when she realized it wasn't the project, it wasn't her schedule. It was the flight. Someone knew she'd overheard Ryan, and they wanted her out. Quietly, without confrontation, legal letters, or HR complaints. Just a shadow cast over her name. Sydney didn't post, defend, or leak the story, but the repercussions were immediate and unmistakable. In Hollywood, sometimes a single overheard truth can ripple outward, silently reshaping careers, pulling strings unseen, and turning whispered words into invisible barriers, leaving actors caught in the delicate web of secrecy, power, and control where nothing is ever truly as it seems. Everything in Hollywood can start with something as small as a single tweet, and that tiny spark often ignites a wildfire of consequences. The quiet ones, it seems, always become the ones others fear most. Every deleted tweet, every fake statement, every PR cover-up takes hours to unravel, and if you want this channel to keep uncovering the truth, hit that join button and become a member. For Sydney Sweeney, it started subtly. A missed call from a stylist she'd worked with 3 times, a rescheduling email from a Dior campaign that was already confirmed, and then a former co-star, someone she considered a friend, leaving her unread for 2 weeks. No fights, no headlines, just absence. Then came the meeting. Not formal, just a brunch invite from a casting assistant she'd DM'd in her early audition days at a side street cafe in Studio City. The assistant looked around nervously and said, "You pissed someone off. Someone big." Sydney blinked.
What?
The assistant whispered, "They think you leaked something from a flight." That was the moment everything clicked. She didn't need proof. In Hollywood, whispers carry far more weight than court filings. Sydney's name began disappearing. Invitations vanished, and a late-night host who had already recorded an episode with her never aired it. Technical issues, they claimed. But an intern on the production crew posted, then quickly deleted, a TikTok captioned, "When you overhear the producers saying, 'We don't need Blake's enemies on this couch.'" Sydney stayed silent, but her agency panicked. She wasn't officially blacklisted, yet her name no longer trended. It was just circling, fading. In a city where PR is currency, she was losing wealth by the day. Then came the email, a leak, a private casting memo forwarded from an anonymous address. No subject line, just a PDF. Inside, a single line read, "Sydney Sweeney has been deemed a high-risk booking due to off-camera instability and unresolved discretion issues." She stared at the screen, not surprised, but because it was finally acknowledged, and still, no one showed fear. The premiere for Glass Chapel was set for April 19th. It was meant to be her moment. Sydney had already chosen the dress. Custom archival, soft metallic fabric, structured shoulders, blending old Hollywood glamour with Gen Z edge, designed to stand out. She'd been promised the full walk, front and center, beside Ryan Reynolds, no press restrictions. But in Hollywood, even the grandest plans can crumble quietly, invisibly, under the weight of whispers, veiled power plays, and unspoken rules that make or break careers before anyone even notices. The premiere of Glass Chapel was supposed to be Sydney Sweeney's moment. Zone skipped, her name on the marquee, but when the studio car arrived that evening, she was handed an envelope containing a private guest wristband, not a premiere pass, meaning no walk, no press, nothing. She called her manager, who called the studio, only to be told it was a logistical reshuffle. Ryan Reynolds' arrival schedule had changed last minute, requiring solo shots, fewer group frames, and tighter press flows. Sydney was stunned. This wasn't a reshuffle, it was a deliberate reduction. Faced with the choice, she didn't go. That evening, the photos dropped. Ryan alone, stepping from a sleek black SUV, wearing custom Armani. All eyes on him, the caption reading, "Ryan Reynolds returns to form." Solo at Glass Chapel global premiere. There was no mention of Sydney in press blurbs or photo tags, her name erased entirely. Even her glam team was confused. One assistant posted, then deleted a story. "Imagine spending 4 hours on a look no one will see. I'd cry." Sydney didn't cry. She stayed home, uninvited from the film she starred in. Meanwhile, a leaked guest list confirmed the erasure. Her name wasn't misspelled, it was removed entirely. Fans noticed. Not everyone bought the scheduling excuse. One tweeted a side-by-side comparison of press materials from the week prior, Sydney front and center, now completely gone. It went viral. Wait, wasn't Sydney literally the female lead? Where was she? This wasn't an accident. It was a calculated erasure. The morning after the premiere, Sydney's name was trending, but not for her performance, her look, or her role as co-lead. She was trending because she wasn't there, and in her place was someone else, Blake Lively. At 9:17 a.m., Blake posted a professional, studio-lit photo of Ryan at the premiere, smiling, but Blake was edited into the frame from a different shoot. The caption read, "Proud of this man, always telling stories that matter." No hashtags, no hashtag Glass Chapel mention, no acknowledgement of Sydney, but to anyone paying attention, the message was clear. Within 6 hours, 6 major outlets published mini-pieces. Ryan and Blake stronger than ever at premiere night. Blake skips red carpet, but still steals spotlight. Where was Sydney? Sources suggested Sydney needed space, but the implication was unmistakable. A carefully orchestrated PR wave had begun, erasing her from the narrative entirely. Sydney's absence wasn't a mere scheduling hiccup. It was a strategic move to control perception, replacing her with Blake Lively in the story the public would see. It was a masterclass in invisibility, in rewriting the narrative without legal letters, lawsuits, or confrontation, just manipulation, timing, and precision. leaving Sydney sidelined while the spotlight shifted seamlessly to someone else, and the message about control, image, and influence in Hollywood was delivered loud and clear. Sydney hadn't said a word, yet suddenly it seemed as if she had. Someone had spun the narrative, making it appear she'd stepped back voluntarily for mental clarity, a classic Hollywood maneuver. If you want to silence someone, make it look like they left on their own. Without issuing a single statement, Sydney was being branded unstable, her reputation quietly undermined. Meanwhile, Blake Lively kept posting, but the real damage wasn't in Blake's posts, it was what followed. Sydney's name was now trending for all the wrong reasons. Questions about why she hadn't shown up, accusations of being dramatic, and whispers that she didn't fit the Ryan and Blake power couple vibe. Fans who'd once adored her now dismissed her as too emotional for press duties. Then a blind item surfaced on Doomwis, referring to a breakout actress with big blue eyes who'd just learned why you never cross a PR queen. It never named Sydney, but the implication was unmistakable. By April 22nd, Sydney's agency had stopped responding directly. Texts were answered only via assistants, with vague, carefully worded replies urging her to pause exposure and let the dust settle, assuring her she remained in good standing with Netflix. The next day, a mysterious calendar hold appeared, April 23rd, 2 p.m., labeled as a private session with no explanation and no confirmed attendees. When Sydney joined the Zoom, 4 faces appeared: her agent, a legal representative, someone from Netflix, and a woman from a PR firm she'd never met. They got straight to the point. This is a brief to protect everyone involved. The studio respects your work and contribution. We're simply moving forward with a different structure. Then came the offer, a one-time payout, a credit under creative contribution, and an 18-month mutual non-disparagement agreement. All that was required was her signature. Sydney sat silent for nearly a minute, processing it before finally asking, "Did Blake send this?" The PR representative smiled but offered no answer, leaving Sydney in the unnerving position of knowing the message had been delivered and the power dynamics firmly, quietly reshaped around her. The combination of silence, manipulation, and strategic PR moves had effectively sidelined her while maintaining the appearance of neutrality, making it clear that in Hollywood, control often speaks louder than confrontation, and absence can be as powerful as presence. Sydney Sweeney's refusal to sign the NDA was quiet, deliberate, and incredibly defiant. She didn't argue, cry, or beg. She simply stated, "I'm not signing it," and closed her laptop, letting her silence do the work for her. Within 2 hours, her team received official confirmation from the network. Her name had been entirely removed from the Glass Chapel marketing materials. No byline, no quote, no billing, just erased. Hours later, someone leaked her refusal. A popular entertainment gossip account on X tweeted, "Heard a certain actress declined a peace clause this week. Not a great look when all you had to do was sign and smile. Guess the ego really is that big." Among the replies, Blake Lively's stylist chimed in with a brief LOL, which was deleted within 10 minutes, but not before it was screenshotted. Refusing to sign the NDA didn't make Sydney a hero in Hollywood eyes. It simply made her unemployable in the immediate sense. Yet, by doing nothing, by refusing to participate in the orchestrated narrative, Sydney became dangerous in a way few had anticipated. She didn't go viral intentionally. The ripple started with a blurry photo taken by someone 2 tables away at the Polo Lounge in Beverly Hills. In it, Sydney, blonde, late 20s, hair up, no makeup, wearing sunglasses indoors, sat across from Reese Witherspoon. The image's caption was simple: "Pretty sure Sydney Sweeney just had lunch with Reese Witherspoon." Within minutes, the photo hit Reddit and shortly after, Twitter, sparking immediate attention because people remembered the subtle, quiet campaigns that had previously defined Sydney's career. The silent pressure, the press wars, the erasures. Now, she was seated across from Blake Lively's latest unspoken casualty, learning firsthand why Reese Witherspoon seemed to mentor every woman Blake attempted to erase. While the mainstream press largely ignored the lunch, insiders noticed immediately. Within 24 hours, 3 separate rumor accounts suggested that Reese was developing a new limited series with a quiet female lead, an indie tone, an Apple TV Plus deal, and that early talks had already begun with Sydney Sweeney. No contracts had been signed, no official announcements made, just whispers. For Sydney, this was the first call she'd received in 10 days that didn't start with an apologetic, "Hey, so sorry." Blake's team remained silent, but 2 days later, Blake posted a story, a simple photo of a sunset with a glass of wine, no caption, and beneath it, a reposted quote card reading, "Some people chase truth, others sell it." It was vague, passive-aggressive, and by then, the public had largely picked sides, and it wasn't Blake's. Sydney did nothing in response. She didn't repost, tweet, or like the story. Instead, she chose to take the meeting. When Reese Witherspoon extended the invitation, Sydney accepted, understanding that in the middle of a PR war, who controls the narrative can decide the next chapter. Her followers began noticing discrepancies. Side-by-side comparisons of promo stills from Glass Chapel revealed a stark truth. In the original press folder, Sydney walked beside Ryan Reynolds in a long coat. In the release materials, she was completely cut out. The caption simply urged viewers to look closer. People did. The image went viral, amassing 50,000 retweets in 12 hours. Under the radar, yet louder than anything the PR machine had tried to manufacture, Sydney's silent defiance had spoken volumes. It reminded the industry that erasing someone from a narrative can be done, but that person can quietly, effectively, reclaim their presence and power, not with words but with strategic, deliberate actions that no one controlling the story can fully anticipate or suppress. Early press materials quietly vanished. Interviews, photos, her name scrubbed from a Variety preview after publication. Then came the edits, fan cams, mood boards, TikToks with melancholy piano, quotes like, "You know a woman is dangerous when she doesn't say anything back." A hashtag emerged, not trending, just a signature. Sydney Sweeney didn't sign. No official statement, no campaign, just defiance. As the views climbed, subtle support started flowing. Stylists, makeup artists, brand interns quietly reposted her older looks, tagged her, liked edits, soft backing, no words. In Hollywood, where branding is everything, that silence was blood in the water. Then, Zendaya spoke in an unrelated interview on female power in Hollywood. Off topic until the last question. "What do you think about actresses weaponizing image control?" She paused, then said, "I think if you're scared of a woman's silence, it's because you know what she could say." Not directly about Sydney, but everyone knew, including Blake's team. Within an hour, Blake's PR pushed a soft pitch to multiple outlets. Blake is entering a new chapter. No more drama, just art. Nobody believed it. Blake posted a white square quote, "You cannot control what others believe, only your peace." It got 88,000 likes and 6,000 comments. By April 29th, Glass Chapel quietly slipped out of Netflix's top 10. No press push, no second wave, no viral moments, except for fan edits celebrating the woman absent from the promo. Then the calls began, not to Sydney, but Ryan Reynolds. One came from the head of PR at the distribution studio. "We're getting calls from partners asking why she's not in the press circuit. Metrics are dipping in territories that tested strong on her name. It's becoming sticky." Ryan stayed quiet. "This wasn't my play," he said. The exec replied, "Then maybe you should have kept your mouth shut on that flight." Ryan didn't respond, but the silence itself was caught on tape. A low-level assistant accidentally leaked a transcript 2 days later, just a few lines, but enough. It spread like wildfire. Reddit threads, gossip channels, even a TikTok captioned, "Ryan got shook by silence. I'm living." For the first time, Ryan Reynolds wasn't in control. Later, a blurry photo surfaced from the set of his next project. Ryan on the phone, pacing, captioned, "I've never seen him this mad or this quiet." That same day, a Hollywood Trades report noted that 2 back-end investors had quietly pulled funding from Reynolds' upcoming thriller. Officially unrelated to Glass Chapel, but timing suggested otherwise. In Hollywood, timing is everything. Ryan posted nothing, no promo, red carpet throwback, or story, just 3 days of digital silence. When a fan account tagged him asking where he went, Blake liked the comment, speaking volumes. Blake never mentioned Sydney publicly, but the strategy was obvious. A carefully orchestrated interview, pre-approved questions, soft lighting, pre-cleared headline. Blake lively on motherhood, career, and learning to let go. Set for April 30th with a legacy journalist known for redemption profiles, the same who helped rebuild Gwyneth Paltrow's post-scandal image. Location locked, outfit selected, hair trial done, call time 2:30 p.m., then nothing. At 3:05 p.m., the team was told, she's not coming. There's been a change. No reschedule, no apology, just a line from her rep. We're choosing to move forward. Blake lively thought she was operating in silence, but it wasn't silence. It was collapse. The editor had already written the backstory, the angle, every paragraph a mirror reflecting her actions, and when the interview was pulled, it published anyway. Blake's name never appeared, but it didn't need to. Every line was unmistakably about her, and for the first time, she had no response. Meanwhile, Sydney Sweeney returned to set, not in Hollywood, but in a quiet rural location in North Carolina, wide landscapes, low light, stillness. The untitled project was executive produced by Nicole Kidman, centering on a woman quietly rebuilding after an invisible war. Sydney didn't post, tweet, or release statements. She just worked. That night, a tweet went viral, not from a journalist or fan, but from another mid-tier, respected actress. She noted that the girl who had been blacklisted hadn't spoken, hadn't protested. She simply listened, and yet people still panicked. Sydney's power lay in her stillness. She didn't win with quotes, press tours, or claps back. She just stood firm while everyone else scrambled. No lawsuits, no public statements, no exposed DMs, no Twitter battles, only a missing presence on the red carpet, a viral hashtag, a canceled interview, and an industry realizing the person they tried to silence didn't need a microphone to matter. When Sydney refused to sign the NDA, she didn't break a rule, she broke the cycle. She saw what Blake had done to others and refused to run, remaining still, and that stillness made the powerful panic. Ryan Reynolds' next film quietly shifted, no announcements, just a restructured release plan. Blake's branding campaign froze, no reposts, no partner activations. Even the PR agency behind her last Netflix rollout quietly ended their contract, citing creative differences. Meanwhile, Sydney showed up to work, not in couture, not in paparazzi shots, but on a quiet indie project produced by Nicole Kidman, backed by Reese Witherspoon, shot in the kind of silence that makes Hollywood tremble. She moved through her career unshaken, letting others flail while she simply existed, proving that sometimes power doesn't come from noise or visibility. It comes from standing still and letting the chaos around you speak for itself.